the curse of one's lineage. An unforgiving glare. Confusion soaks into the sheets and pours out my eyes. If only the door had been locked. Rotten, stale air pouring from his mouth, crawling up my neck, slithering through my ear. A permanent death. The bed frame held the stiffness I endured. Without him, things would be easier. My chest would be lighter.
I'm definitely not living the life that I planned for myself. You know, it affects me all the time.
And then he's like, do you want money? I'm like, I don't want your fucking money, is what I said to him.
Guys don't get the word no, I guess.
Had to protect the family. It was their reputation, their business. I get
Their
it.
name.
You know, it's only somebody's lives that's, affected.
I feel that he did something to his children.
Karma's a bitch, you know?
The Ropers, they're stupid, easy to manipulate. They're sluts. But why is that?
My name is Amy Gaza, and I'm an aunt.
Can you tell me the ages that the abuse started, if you remember?
Probably, I think 12 in 1985.
Were you babysitting at that time?
Yes. In the summertime. Full time.
Can you recall the first time you were abused?
We were down Plymouth. That was where we went in the summertime. And I used to babysit like Friday, Saturday nights also. And he would drive me home. And he wouldn't go like right to the cottage, he would drive around. Not the first time did he threaten me, no. It was just as other times he did. I was confused, but he did it in a way of like, kind of like a special, you know what I mean? Like,
Trying to make you feel special.
right, try to make me feel special and try to make me like, I don't know. But I didn't, if we were at family functions or whatever, I stayed away from him because I didn't want it.
I'm Carolyn Joyce, and you're my niece. I think I was like 16, 17, I think. I mentioned his wife, and he's like, well, if you tell her, she'll have a heart attack. So I couldn't basically say anything, to anybody. It was just going on like every time I babysat, and even like when I said no, he still did it. Like he didn't care that I said no. It went for a long time. It started out in Brighton, and then when I moved to Medfield, it was happening there. He picked me up a couple of times. Made me give him a blowjob, and while he was driving. He was, and I just did it. Like you know what I mean? I don't even know why. It's like I don't know why I let it happen. And there was a couple of times that he would put the TV on for his daughters, put a movie on, and then went upstairs, and he made me sleep with them and give them a blowjob and all that while the kids are downstairs watching a movie. It went on for a long time. But I would always bring, a couple of times I would bring Fred with me, and he would get pissed because I would bring Fred with me. But I never told Fred. I didn't tell Fred until it all came out in, 96, I think. Like, looking at, seeing his wife, and I couldn't even say anything, and then I was wondering if she knew anything, you know what I mean? But she didn't, obviously, she didn't know anything, But I didn't know. I I didn't know that it was happening to anybody else. I just thought it was me, for a long time.
My name is Laura Roper, and I am Jaden Roper's aunt. And I'm her favorite aunt, obviously. That's a given. It was summer between 3rd and 4th grade, and I was down at the beach, which was my favorite place in the world. And a kid across the street who was older. I remember we were out in the street, we were playing around the bases, all the kids in the neighborhood were there. And there was a boy that had started to come around that summer. He and his older sister who lived down there, Robbie Lord, I just remember, and I had like a wicked crush on him. I thought he was so cute. This older kid was like, he must have saw that or something. And he said, he made me go for a walk with him. And he was like, you want to hang around with the big kids? I was like, yeah, and he was like, well, and then maybe he'll be your boyfriend or something, and he's like, about sex, don't you? And of course, being a little kid, like, no, I didn't, but I said yes, because to me, sex was kissing.
Yeah.
So I knew, people kissed. I knew that. So I was like, yeah, I know. So he got me to go with him, and we went up to the little chapel, the churchyard up there, and down behind like the parking lot. Like I followed him. We cut through, like the fissures, and like we cut through all there, and he's like opened this like these bushes. Like I never would have known that was there, and it was a big giant like clearing, and there were bottles and stuff. Like I guess it was a party space. I wasn't at that age where I like was partying or anything, And so that's when I remember wearing this. I had my pink bathing suit on, and I just remember being scared, feeling uncomfortable, then he was having me prove that I knew what sex was, like kissing, so he kissed me, and then I started to feel scared and I wanted to leave, and he wouldn't let me. At that point, I was on the ground and he was standing over me, and he was a big, fat, giant guy. He's still a big, fat guy. And, he wanted me to take my bathing suit off, and I didn't want to take my bathing suit off. And then he pulled his shorts down, and he basically made me put my mouth on his dick. And he was like gyrating. He was just fucking me basically, but he was choking me. Like I was literally choking, and I was scared. I couldn't breathe. I was choking. And it was gagging. Like I was probably going to throw up or something. And then he let me go, and he came, and he said I didn't have to swallow it. I didn't know what to do. I remember him grabbing some leaves and wiping his dick off, and, me trying to leave. And he, again, was kind of on me where I couldn't make a getaway, and I was scared. And then he started telling me that, I can't tell anybody because I'm going to get in trouble, and they'll be so mad at me, like, so I was, I was afraid. And he's like, they won't believe you, blah, 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 I mean, like I didn't know what to do, and then he tried fucking me, and it hurt, and he couldn't get it in there, so it was like
a child.
Yes. He couldn't get himself in there, but he picked up a bottle.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember it was a vodka bottle. Yeah, it was a gallon bottle. And he used that on me. I mean, it hurt. There was a little bleeding. I don't know if he successfully broke my hymen, but yeah, I was traumatized. And I just remember him saying things like, he was with an older woman and he got an older woman in trouble. Again, I have no idea what that means other than someone's going to find out and I'm going to be, punished. Like I don't know what pregnancy is. Like I don't know that you have sex to have a baby. Yeah. Like as a matter of fact, it wasn't for another year that I found that out, that when you have sex, you have a baby. And I was convinced. That you were pregnant. Yeah. But yeah, that was a great summer. It wasn't, because I still didn't, I mean, I didn't understand. I didn't know anything about sex or babies or what happened to me, but I hated him from that moment on, and wouldn't let him in my house. Yeah. Well, what happened after that was like, when we were really little, we weren't allowed to be at the cottage unless Grandma was up at the cottage. But as we got older, like when I was a teenager, she would leave the house open and we could go up there. And so I would go up there to use the bathroom or to eat lunch or whatever. And I remember coming up there one day and I could hear people in the house. So I was like, what the hell? So somebody was upstairs. So I went upstairs because I could hear somebody talking or something. And I found fucking Billy and Carolyn, who was very, very little, very little, under Grandma and Papa's bed. And I was like, it was just a weird thing. And it was the daytime. And I was like, what's going on? But they were playing hide and seek. So then that just freaked me the hell out because he was going after my sisters at that point. Like, that's what I felt like. So I wouldn't go to the beach anymore. I stayed at the cottage because I was so afraid that he was going to get in my house again and be there when I was there alone or when they were there alone. I didn't know. So I stopped going to the beach, which was my favorite place in the whole fucking world.
More often, my experience is that an older sibling becomes incredibly protective of the younger siblings and takes on a role of authority and responsibility long before they can really bear that. And even then, I think there are little impulses towards something that's more destructive that enters that because, trauma is a kind of violence that gets internalized. And for most of us, what gets internalized gets externalized again. And, who are we closest to growing up? Brothers and sisters, the siblings, the ones who are right alongside us. So I think it's a mix of both, but I think that impulse to protect can be sometimes very, very strong.
All these years later, same thing happened. We were down the beach and Jimmy was around. So Jimmy, I was an adult when he tried something on me, And it was stupid. Like I slept over, I was babysitting for them. I was down in the kitchen making a bottle for the baby. And he came up behind me and he put his hands up under my shirt and grabbed my boobs. And I was just like, what the fuck? I go, don't they call this incest? Yeah. And he was like, I know, I was just joking around. And I was like, what the fuck, dude?
It's not joking.
Yeah, so he actually never tried anything after that because I was like, how fucking dare you? But I didn't know what was going on. And it wasn't until like a couple of years later in the summer and he was around, he was being a dick. So, I was just going off about what a dick he is, and I remember his grandma, Auntie June, Amy, and somebody else was at the table. And I was just like, he's an asshole. I go, he's a pedophile. blah, blah, blah. And I look at Amy, and the look on her face, I just knew that he was fucking messing with her. And she didn't lose it in front of them, but it was like later, and she broke down and was like telling me about it, like I had no idea.
We were at the cottage, and I don't know, they were talking about something, and then I was like laying on the couch because I worked I work overnight, so I was sleeping on the couch, and I heard Amy and Laura talking about it, and then that's when I got up and I said, oh, I said he was doing that to me too, and they were like, what? Because I never said anything. I never told anybody. I mean, I couldn't even tell Fred. Like I couldn't tell anybody because because I didn't like I just thought it was my fault, so I never told anybody.
Sorry.
It's okay. Some hard shit.
We were at a wedding, and it was like Friday night. We were all at a bar. Me and my whole family was there, cousins, aunts and uncles, and he just came over to me and he was like, you leave and then I'll leave right after you. And I kept on saying, no, I'm not doing this here. I'm not being a part of this. And so at one point he just kept on kind of like saying, come on. And I'm like, no. And then I try to get one of his sister-in-law's attention because she was standing right next to me. And she just pulled me aside because she saw my like, I don't know.
She saw how scared you were.
So she pulled me aside. We went outside, and she was like, what was that for? She just asked me a ton of questions. And I just broke out, and I told her what has been happening. And she's married to the pedophile's brother. So, but then she was just talking me down and being like all nice to me and asking her what happened and when did this start, when, like, how did it start, like, did I do anything to like evoke them or whatever. And I was like, no. So whatever, she just said, on the weekend just stay with me, we'll just hang, like, whatever, we'll talk later. And I said, all right, because we were at a wedding, so I didn't want to like ruin that. Then we went to another bar like after the wedding, and he would just be like all next to me and start saying stuff, and I'm like, no. He just was really like on my case the whole weekend, and I didn't have fun. Like, it was awful. So I was glad to leave that wedding.
It was because we were worried at that point. They were worried about his youngest daughter. And what she might be going through, because she was little. She was like 2 or 3, and his second child, Allison, we already knew she had been messed with, because I was wondering that. She had gone through a series, like, she went through this whole thing where she was having really bad headaches. She couldn't go to school. She was having all these tests done. No one could find out what was wrong with her. She wouldn't sleep over anybody's house. She wanted her mother to sleep with her every night.
Yeah. No.
Not sleeping with mommy and daddy every night. She wanted her mom to sleep with her. Yeah. And just all these like red flags, she was like having emotional breakdowns and stuff. Yeah, that
unstable behavior.
Exactly. And to me, that was, victim behavior,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he ever touched the first daughter. Sometimes they don't. Maybe he saw something in Allison that he didn't see in Ashley.
Yeah.
But no, he definitely messed with her, I think.
The three of us went to Amy's therapist
Mm-hmm.
because in preparation of telling,
Yeah.
And so the therapist was great because she was like, now be prepared for retaliation.
But they wanted me to be their spokesperson for them.
Yeah.
Because they are easy to manipulate. They're vulnerable. They're easy to confuse, and they stutter when they get nervous, and and I can be a bitch. But they don't intimidate me because I know
you can see through it.
I can, but I also know how I have to be very deliberate in everything that I do and I say because they have power behind them. Their dad was an active judge at the time.
Yeah.
They have 2 lawyers in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they know. Statute of limitations hadn't run out or anything, and he deserved to be in jail because of what he did.
Yeah.
And they know that, So I just waited for them to tell me what they wanted. And they really wanted Kim to know because they wanted her to protect the youngest daughter,
We called him. And he's like, why are you calling me? And I told him. So we did like a three-way call. So Laura was on the other line. I was on one. And we called him. And I told him that I wanted to talk to his wife. So she I got up. So she didn't go on the phone. She didn't want to. Because, of course, I think everyone believed him and not me. So, he hung up. Like, we had a long conversation. It was about, like, I wanted to tell everyone. He was like, why are you ruining my life? Basically, like he was the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Laura said a few words to him. Then he hung up on me.
So you didn't even talk to the wife?
Nope.
Said, I want to talk to you about something. And he was like, what? And I was like, we're going to, you need to tell Kim, what you did to my sisters, and
Done your own children.
exactly. I said, basically, I said, you and I both know what's going on and you need to tell your wife, before I go to the authorities. And he was like, I go, you have a week to do that. And she needs to know. But then he's so fucked up because then he's like, well, never mind all that stuff. He's like, how you doing? Yeah, where you working now? And I'm like,
did you not listen to anything?
Exactly. I go, you have a week.
The sister-in-law called me, asked me more questions after, told another brother, not the sister-in-law's husband, but another brother. And at that time I worked at a daycare down in Quincy, and the brother she told wanted to meet me for lunch one day during the week. So he came down to where I worked, and we went out to lunch, and he was just asking me a bunch of questions. I told him the truth, and he asked me if I wanted to ruin his family, and I said no. I just said I wanted it to be out and opened, and I want other people like around him to know what he's done to me.
Yeah.
And then he said, do you want to go to court? And I'm like, no. I said I would like to. And then he's like, do you want money? I'm like, I don't want your fucking money, is what I said to him. Because I'm like, I can live by my means. Like, I'm like fine with that. I said,
It's
Then
not
he
going to
goes,
fix
yeah.
everything.
Then Kurt was like, "What do you want from us? What do you want?" I go, "I just want it opened. I want people to know and be aware that he is a pedophile and he shouldn't be like walking the streets."
Yeah.
And there are other girls who are conditioned by society not to make waves, um, and they worry that they worry that they'll be blamed, that they'll be held responsible in some way, and they choose not to tell. And choosing not to tell gives them a little illusion of power over the experience. But it also has pretty difficult consequences, because then there's nowhere to turn, there's nothing to do with it except to try to push it aside.
My mother and father said, "Amy, we can't go to court. It's family and they have more money than me." That's all they cared about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they didn't care about it.
no, they did care, but
They
I just,
realistically knew that they were gonna win.
Yeah.
Regardless.
because it's basically his word against mine, I guess, you know? We have no, like, proof that he did anything, and so,
But like, no one really has proof in these types of situations.
like, fuck that. Like, his son was in the wrong.
Yeah.
And then they just haven't held that power with the two other sons being lawyers.
Right, and and like, Kurt came down to talk to me that particular day that we went out to lunch, and he wasn't a cousin, he wasn't a relative, he was a lawyer.
Yeah. He wasn't talking to you as a
He
family
wasn't
member.
talking to me as a family member or anything. He was talking to me as his profession. And it didn't make me feel good, because he was like, "What do you want to go to court? What do you want, his money?" No, dude, I want someone to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be heard.
Wanted to be held accountable, but
He never was. The pedophile's mother, which is my mother's sister, her reaction was, "Why did Amy still babysit? Why did she, why didn't she walk home from the house in Plymouth?" So my mother was telling me this, and I said, "I still babysat because that was my job. I did it for Kim because I absolutely adored Kim. But yeah, so that's why I continued, and I loved her kids. I mean, it's all about the kids. It's not about like the parent. You know what I mean? The parents, or whatever. I got very close to Kim's children, and it was just very convenient because it was money. She opened a savings account for me, like down there, and it was just convenient.
Yeah. And you were so young. It's like you don't even really know like the effects of it or how to just like get out of that.
Right.
'Cause he's still in the family, so it's not like he couldn't do it other ways.
Right, exactly.
Aunt Paula, who I was so close with, I lived at their house. She and Uncle Connie wouldn't even acknowledge me for years. They wouldn't even look at me. Nobody would.
Yeah.
It was awful. They were talking to Carolyn, they were talking to Amy, but everyone stopped talking to me, stopped acknowledging me. Like, that was so hurtful.
Yeah. Because you
They
were
were-
also a victim.
They were afraid of me, because I knew the truth. But it didn't go any further than what the victims wanted. Like, if I had gotten what I wanted, yeah, Jimmy would be in jail.
Which he should be, and I don't know why everyone just overlooks it. I guess because all the power that they have.
Because of the
within that
power.
family.
Yep.
I couldn't say anything to go around the family, but I mean, it did, get out there. But at first I was like, oh no, I can't do that. They'll all hate me. They'll hate all the Ropers, not just me. They'll hate all of us.
The Ropers, they're stupid, easy to manipulate. They're sluts. But why is that?
They're spreading all these rumors around about my siblings being like whores because they were molested by their brother. So yeah, they got all these they've got reputations, which are mostly false.
Back at the wedding, the sister-in-laws were like, I'll be by your side, I'll be by your side, I'll be by your side. You know, you can call me for anything. They weren't. Because they were behind their husbands. They weren't behind me.
They were like our best friends. And I heard it, but after that, they were like, they just like wouldn't talk to us and stuff. And then I got mad. I was like, see, why did we fucking say something? Like I flipped out. I was like, why did we say something? See what happened?
He shouldn't get away with this. It's against the law. You know, I'm sure he did many girls besides me. I told his brother that I think something should be said. And one of the sister-in-laws has 3 girls of her own. And I even asked her, what would you do if one of your kids got molested by their uncle? And she's like, well, they wouldn't be around him in the first place. I said, aren't you glad that I opened my mouth up to
protect all of you?
Yeah, basically. Because like I said, his father was a judge. So he got away with murder.
Never in a million friggin' years did I ever think 30 years later that my sister would be marrying the son of a bitch. Carolyn's single, you know, for the summer. And then she drops the bomb that she's dating him.
Yeah.
I wanted to just puke, like seriously. But again, I kept it all in, you know, because I was around the girls. So, you know, when they were upset because she was dating somebody, you know, with her track record as it was, they just wanted her to be like alone, just so that they can just have their mom to themselves for a summer. I was like defending her, like you know, like, oh well, you know, they're dating, but like nothing's gonna happen, you know how she is, and things don't work out, and blah blah. You know, I was constantly sticking up for her, which again, no one believes because no one ever gives me the benefit of the doubt of anything. But I always do the right thing.
So now I'm going to ask you about Billy.
Okay.
So I guess how did you first start dating Billy?
Well, because my parents were like best friends with his parents, and then like I've always liked Billy. Like when I was younger, you know, but like there's 7 years difference between me and him. So I didn't like, and then you know, then I got married or whatever, you know, had kids, and so we didn't get together until I was like in my 40s, you know. But I've always liked Billy, always, you know. And then we got married, and then I was dating him and everything, and he was, you know, it was good. Everything, you know, we were fine. And then he got sick. Billy got sick, and then like I was, you know, I was, you know, I was with him the whole time. Like while he was sick, I was, you know, with him the whole, you know. And then when he started getting really, really sick, he just kind of like threw me away.
I remember being woken up at 7 in the morning, like, and it was Carolyn's, you know, phone. So I was like, you know, hello, but it was him.
Oh.
So I hear this voice, and he goes, you know, why are you saying that? You know, I did this or whatever. And I was like,
Did you forget?
Exactly, you know. But I'd already gotten a story from somebody else, because Carolyn said she asked him about it, and he said, I don't remember it. If it happened, I must have been drunk. So I had already gotten that story, I think probably from Amy or whatever, but like not ever directly from Carolyn, you know, ever. So yeah, then he calls me out of the fucking blue, and I'm just like, I was there. I know what happened. You know, what the fuck are you calling me for? You know? Yeah. And he was like, what? And I hung up on him. I'm like, how, you know? I'm like, don't ever call me again. you know? And I hung up on him, but I was just like, what the hell? I didn't do anything wrong. You know, I remember what happened. But yeah, but that's what he said to her. He said, well, if it happened, I don't remember it. And if I did it, I was drunk.
Which
So
doesn't
that
make
is
an excuse.
okay.
Well, like he just didn't remember it happening, you know. And I guess she said that they were up at they were up in the church parking lot, you know, and he's like, I don't remember doing that. He's like, I like Gina, you know, he hung out with Gene, but he don't remember like being with Laura, because he's like, I never hung out with that group. I'm like, I don't know. I was too young, so I didn't know, like, you know, what really happened or what, you know. And I think Laura didn't. I think Laura couldn't stand him anyways.
Well, yeah, because of what.
Yeah, yeah, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if, you know, if it really happened, or, you know, if Laura just, you know, like, I don't know.
Did you believe Laura?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But I didn't, you know. Then I'm listening to him, and, you know, and I'm just like, well, you usually know, like, if something like that happened, because he said that he knew everything he did when he was a kid, you know, but he didn't remember doing that.
But yeah, I just like wondering why you stayed with him after finding that out.
I don't know. I don't know why. Because I loved him, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then, I don't know, he was like saying it didn't happen. I don't remember doing it. I'm like, okay, you know. I don't know why. I don't know.
I just know that no one's going to believe anything that I say. And I already know that Grandma thinks I started it all. Just how Grandma thinks of me. I just know. So I don't talk to her for a really long time. You know, and then
Talk to Grandma or Carolyn?
no, I have no problem talking to Carolyn, because Carolyn she doesn't talk about that stuff. She doesn't talk about him with me. She doesn't talk about any of that.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't want to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So she's never talked about it with me, ever.
Yeah.
I finally did call my mother.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, you know, with the Carolyn thing came up. And I said, Mom, I said, do you think that I started all this? Do you think that I said something? I said, you do, right? Like, I already knew. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you do, right? You know? I said, I never said anything. You know? Not at all. I said, but you think I did this, right? And she's like, yeah. She goes, you know, Carolyn deserves to be happy. Yeah, right? I go, Carolyn deserves to be happy. Okay. All right. And yeah, she did think that I started it all. And no one ever had a conversation with me. Ever. They're all talking about my trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Like they know what
no one went to you about it.
No. Never. You know? Then the best part comes when they decide to get married.
Yeah, I remember.
Right. And so the girls won't go to the wedding. So I'm not going to the wedding. But then Grandma is like, you need to go to the wedding. We need you to go to the wedding. Wow. I'm like, why? I'm like, Mom, I'm not fucking going to the wedding. She's like, you need to go, because if you're there, then everything's going to be okay. Like, if I had the strength to go, then everybody else could go too and face it. So I have to be the strong one for everyone. Again, like that's what I've done my whole life. I got to do the right thing, which no one gives me credit for. But I do the right thing. Of course I do the right thing. And I go. And I act like I'm so fucking happy. And thank God for fucking edibles. I'm just saying. Like, seriously. That's what got me through. Yeah. Because I kept a smile on my face. And I just wouldn't let it get me down. you know? But yeah, I had to do that so that my parents would be strong enough to make it through too. And, you know, because Carolyn deserves to be happy.
Interesting.
Not Laura,
Yeah.
but Carolyn deserves to be happy. And she does. I'm not saying she doesn't.
No,
I mean,
she
obviously,
definitely
but it's always like at the expense of my everything.
Yeah. Like that's.
But I do it, and I do it again. Like I always do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
What's best for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's what's best for me. But yet people still doubt that I would do the right thing. I always do the right thing.
Why do you think people think that?
I don't know, but it really feeds into that no one's going to believe you, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
No one believes you, Laura.
Then he got mad when I would go away, and then he'd get mad when I would go see my parents. I go, really? They're my parents. I'm not doing anything. I don't know if he thought I was cheating on him or doing something because he was doing it, you know. But I didn't know he was doing it until after we were separated, and I never knew. He played a good game. You know what I mean? He played that he loved me and he wanted to be with me, and you know. And then all of a sudden, it was like he just like turned off a switch and didn't want nothing. He didn't want to be with me anymore. I'm like, what the hell did I do? Like,
Yeah.
I basically got totally screwed. You know what I mean?
I mean, he just seems very manipulative.
Oh yeah, but you know what? I didn't think that.
You're still one of the strong ones, though.
Survivor.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. But she was like, you need to get help, Lara. And she was the one that was like, let's call Kim. And I was like, all right, let's do it. I was game for anything. Just to get him in trouble, get him cuffed and stuffed, something. He needed to be. But it was so hard because my parents were like, Amy, they have money. And my mother was like, this is my sister. And I get it.
But you're also her child.
Right. And I totally get it. I totally get it that she didn't want to do it. But I think you need to protect your kids, not your sister.
Yeah.
When my mother and them grew up when they were younger, they couldn't even cry. They couldn't do anything. That's why we never see grandma crying because they weren't allowed to cry. Or doing, you know what I mean? And every time they cried, they got yelled at by my grandmother because she didn't want them crying. So that's why they were strong. They never cried. So when people died or whatever, my mother like basically never cried about it. Me, forget it. Me, I cry at a drop of a hat. You know what I mean? So it's like it's so different from like when they were younger, which is kind of sad because crying's like it's a normal thing. You know what I mean?
I'm definitely not living the life that I plan for myself.
Yeah.
You know, it affects me all the time, you know, because it keeps haunting me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I didn't get married and have a family and all that. Well, you know why? Because I feel like I am unlovable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm afraid to be around people.
Yeah.
You know, I feel constantly judged. You know, I have extreme anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I put on a front all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I fake it all the time. You know, I mean, it's easy to be around my family and fake it, but I have a really hard time doing it out in the world. You know, so I don't go out in the world. You know, I mean, it's all I ever wanted to be was mom.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just so afraid to have a relationship. And then when I had relationships, you know, and guys say, oh, it doesn't matter, they can adopt a baby. That's bullshit. You know, and it wasn't until like a critical point in my reproductive cycling that I realized that I can't even have kids. You know, wasn't in God's plan, like everybody says, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck his plan was, but it's not what I planned.
Yeah.
Not this.
making that next step with a boy, like as a teenager? Like, were you ever like hesitant, or like did you have like PTSD at all?
Yeah. And I wouldn't do anything. I think it affects, like, yeah, like being with them. I didn't want to be with them because I would just think back of what the pedophile did to me.
Yeah.
So, and same with my husband. Sometimes it was hard to be intimate.
Yeah. Do you feel that way still, or has it?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Back in the day, it was hard,
Mm-hmm.
but we talked about it, but it was fine, Yeah. So, we've been together for a long time.
Yeah.
Over, what, 30 years plus?
Yeah.
So he knows everything about me.
Oh yeah, Jimmy totally screwed me. You know, oh it's okay. Like he would say, oh it's okay. You know, I'm like, he totally screwed me too.
Yeah.
You know, and I let it happen. You know, I let it happen.
You were too young to even defend yourself, because he's a big dude too, and like he had the power over you to keep you quiet.
Oh yeah. I was afraid if I didn't do it, then like he would do something to me. So that's why I just did it. You know what I mean? I just did it. I didn't enjoy it. You know. I would go home after that and just like lay in bed and be like, what did I just do? Especially like after this, I got raped again, and I told my guidance counselor at the high school.
Oh, so it wasn't by Jimmy, it was by somebody
No,
else.
yeah, by someone else. So then that's when my mother came down and I told her. So I was like messed up from that too, you know. Because the same thing again, I said no and he proceeded. So it's like guys don't get the word no, I guess. And I feel like I can't even have a fucking like normal relationship with any guy because it just doesn't work out. Or I was like, oh, is it me? Like, did I fuck up somewhere or something with him? I don't know. I have no idea. Or maybe because I told him about Jimmy, I don't know, it changed. I don't know.
I don't think telling him that would change. I think that's just him. I mean, I feel like just going through all of that as a young woman, like it's just gonna change you forever, like emotionally, physically, like.
My life has just fucked.
You know, Carolyn doesn't know what love is because she's so confused by it.
Yeah.
You know? It's like abuse is love, I guess. You know, she thinks.
That's how it's turned into.
Exactly. It's not her fault.
Yeah, no.
You know? But people blame her all the time. People make fun of her all the time. And it like bothers me.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you know, I suppose I'm guilty of that myself a little bit, but, you know, some of the stuff is just wrong.
I mean, my kids, I think, know that I was molested. They know bits and parts
Yeah, no.
of things. Like, they know, like, obviously, you know, who it was and why I hate him. And we don't really talk about it at home.
Why not?
I don't know. It hasn't really come up. I mean, obviously, if I go to like a family function or whatever, my kids will say, was he there? You know, stuff like that.
Trauma, and especially if it's not been spoken, then there are just layers and layers of sort of like a hall of mirrors in which one has to try to find the words for something that in the end is itself beyond words, and yet it lives in the body.
When you're the one who's put in that role as a very small child, like, you know, I'm the one who has to fix things.
Mm-hmm.
That
It's a lot of pressure on you.
and who fixes me?
Yeah.
I resolved the fact that there wasn't anybody who would fix me. That's why I pushed people away, because ultimately they're not going to be there. It's because people see me in one respect as like being a strong person or like a bitch, basically. So what? They don't believe that something bad could happen to me?
I would be ashamed when I would leave there. You know, I would leave my cousin's house. You know, because I would.
He makes you feel like that because he's the one who's doing it to you and who's manipulating.
Oh yeah, yeah. He probably thought it was normal, you know. But it's like I'm your freaking cousin, for Christ's sakes. Like, we're family. You know what I mean? Like, how can you do that to me? Like, how could you fucking do that to me?
To do it to your own cousin,
Yeah,
is just like it's just sick. You trust him. You know what I mean? He's family. You don't think that he's gonna fucking hurt you.
I go whenever you do.
Yeah, me too.
Hopefully, this generation of women, you know, because of everything with the Me Too and all that stuff, will be able to say, you know, like call it for what it is immediately.
Right.
Because it's going to happen to them. I mean, it's going to happen in their lifetime. Someone is going to try to assert their power over them. Some male, you know,
Right.
the way it is.
As they speak, the power of the trauma loosens its hold. I don't mean it goes away, it never goes away, but it loosens its hold in some way and allows the person to know things they could never know before, and to say things and see things and consider things and dream things and act on things. And it's freeing. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. It's freeing.
My chest would be lighter. Things would be easier without him. I endured the stiffness the bed frame held. A permanent death. Slithering through my ear, crawling up my neck. Rotten, stale air pouring from his mouth. If only the door had been locked. It pours out my eyes and confusion soaks into the sheets. An unforgiving glare. The curse of one's lineage.